Hello fellow moms, I wanted to hop on and make another video just because there have still been a lot of questions, and since we just started a new quarter, I thought maybe this would be a good time for clarification, and this would be a way to get the word out more widespread since a lot of y'all have had the same questions. So at the beginning of this quarter, you received a stack of papers with a sticky note that had your child's name on it, and you either had pages of just illustrations, they filled up the whole page, or you had pages that looked like this where you had an illustration up top and then blank lines at the bottom. You also received a lesson book that looked like this. God's Mighty Hand is the theme for this quarter. We're looking at the time period of Exodus, which is the 5th time period. And a lot of people had questions on these handouts. It seems that everyone has made sense of the lesson book. That's been pretty easy to follow. But the lesson book is what your students are learning in class on Sunday and Wednesday. And there is, remember, a schedule at the very front of the book that tells you what lesson is being studied on what day. And if there are snow days or anything, you can communicate with your teacher to see how that changes. But these handouts are something that you can use at home. You don't have to. I know there are some people that have not, and that's totally fine. But this is something that you can use with your children to continue reviewing the 17 time periods. We started this whole new curriculum by talking about the 17 time periods and about how the whole Bible is one big story and how it fits together and how Jesus is the center of all of it, and he is the message of all of it. And so after learning those 17 time periods, we now have started at the beginning of the Bible, and we're going through and we're looking at every main event and person that occurs within the Bible, but in more depth. So our first quarter in fall 2019 was looking at the first 4 time periods: before the flood, scattering of the people, and the patriarchs. And now in January, we are starting looking at the 5th time period, Exodus. And there are a lot of events that happened within this time period. So it's going to take us the whole quarter to study it, just like the adults did in the quarter before us. And so this information I'm giving you right now is going to be relevant to kids from the nursery class where the 2-year-olds are all the way up to where the 5th graders are. So if you are in those classes, you have kids in those classes, this video is for you. So I'm going to show you how my kids use these handouts at home, just to give you an idea of how you can use them. Again, you don't have to. This is just a tool that can help you with at-home Bible study. So every Saturday, my kids and I sit down, or they sit down with Philip and go over the lesson that they are going to be learning on Sunday. We go over the memory verse, we read the scriptures, and then they go through and they answer the questions in their lesson book. They are in the kindergarten class. So I know every class is going to look just a little bit different as far as how you prepare for Sunday lesson. Well, then throughout the week, we in the past have not done anything more pertaining to this Bible study done at Bible class and our worship services. We typically have an at-home Bible study that we do. But now every Wednesday what we do is we sit down with our 17 time periods binder. Sometimes we will review all the 17 time periods. Sometimes I'll just throw out some names like Ezekiel or Abraham or Jesus or Paul and have my kids tell me what time period they go in. And sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't, and that's okay. Like, for example, Ezekiel, sometimes they get, sometimes they don't. But then what we do is we find the handout that pertains to what they have been studying in Bible class in the current week. And I have my kids color the illustration. And for the nursery and preschool class, that's all you have is an illustration to color. But then for the older classes, you have a place where you can summarize the event learned with the children, and then things that they can take away from this lesson. So what can I learn about God from this lesson? What themes do I see in this lesson that are a foreshadowing of Christ or God's plan of salvation? So this is something you can do at home as a review with your children. And if you choose to do that, this is what it will kind of look like. This is the 17 time period binder that all of you received for each of your children. At the very front, there is a reminder of the hand motions for the 17 time periods. And those are real good to review every once in a while just to make sure the kids still remember them. And then I have each of the 17 time periods in this binder. And then every time my kids learned something in Bible class, we reviewed it here at home. So this is, before the world began, there was nothing, and God decided to create everything with words. His words create life. And he did that in 6 days. Then we have the first sin, fall of man, Cain and Abel. And then next time period is the flood. There was one event that occurred in this time period, and that was Noah and the flood. And same with the next time period, scattering of the people. The only event occurring in that time period was the building of the Tower of Babel. And then we had a lot of things we learned about in the time period of the patriarchs. So this one's pretty cool. We have accounts that were learned about Abraham and accounts that were learned about Isaac, if I can get it in here. We have the sacrifice of Isaac in here. There it is. And then Jacob and Esau, going all the way to the 12 sons of Jacob, and then Joseph in Egypt. There were a bunch in there I skipped. And now we are currently on the time period of the Exodus from Egypt. And so, like I said, every Wednesday what I have my kids do when we do our morning Bible study is they sit down with some colored pencils, they color their illustration, and then I have them in their own words retell this account in the Bible, and I write it down, I make corrections or help them add things that they forgot in the story as needed, and then we talk about lessons that we learn. A big theme that I've been pointing out with my kids is how God keeps his promises and how God shows his power and his might to his people. We've also talked about the theme of water in the Old Testament. For example, God cleansing the world from sin with the flood, and now Moses, who is going to help deliver God's people, being pulled out of the water, and how that is kind of foreshadowing of God saving his people through baptism. So we've been pulling out New Testament themes in the Old Testament as much as we can. And so that is an idea for you, how you can use these illustrations that went home in your 17 time period binder. If you have any other ways that you have used them and you've done either preview or review of our Bible class lessons and you want to share those so that they can benefit the rest of the congregation, please let either Philip or myself know, and we can share that with the whole group. And just a reminder, for the last quarter, the kids learned All Things Praise Thee, which was a song in our Hymns for Worship book. And the quarter before that, they learned the song Thy Word, which is in our supplement. And some classes also had the time to learn the song Ancient Words. So your kids potentially know 2 to 3 songs at this point, and we're adding another hymn this quarter, and that is Faith is the Victory. So your kids are going to be learning in Bible class the song Faith is the Victory and seeing how that fits into what we're going to be learning in this quarter. If you have the time and you have the ability to review the song Faith is the Victory at home, it's going to help your kids learn them better. And what we like to do is we like to print the song or just have the songbook open, and we sing the song throughout the day. Or there are some weeks where we just don't have time to sing the song and practice it, and so we'll just do it on Saturday when we're preparing for Bible class. But if you have the ability to practice that with your kids at home, it's just going to help them in learning that song a little bit faster. So again, Faith is the Victory is the hymn that they're learning this quarter, and you can find that in the Hymns for Worship songbook, which we have at our church building. If you have any questions, please let Philip or myself know what those are. Anytime, we'd love to help you working through these things, or of course you can go to the elders at any time if you have any more questions. Thanks, guys.